Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. This week we read Parashah Chukas, and this is a very perplexing parasha. It talks about the Parah Adumah, which is the red heifer, the mitzvah, the supra-rational mitzvah of the red heifer. So to give you a little bit of a background so you can understand what this parasha is about, it begins with a set of mitzvot that are put in the category that are called chok. That's why the name of the parasha is Chukas. And these mitzvahs that fall into this category that are called chok is a category of mitzvahs that we would call them like the supra-rational mitzvot. They don't make any sense, they're not logical. Sometimes they would feel like a voodoo, things that are completely out of ability to comprehend. You have another set of mitzvot that fall in the category of mishpatim. These are the mitzvot that are logical, that a person would do them. They don't need God to tell them not to kill, not to steal. These are mitzvot that are any civilized place would enforce. And they're like basically logical mitzvot. And then you have another category of mitzvot that are called the eidot, which are a category that are, let's call them testimonial, like they're like tradition, like Shabbat, tradition, Hala, Kiddush, let's say menorah in Hanukkah. You light the menorah, it's a testimony of something that happened. Matzah on Pesach, it's a testimony of something that happened. People won't, it's not something that you can say, no, I don't believe in this. This is something that we just do. It's a Jewish thing. So here we fall in this category of the mitzvahs that are called chok, which are supra-rational mitzvot, and we need to explain something else about this specific mitzvah of the Parah Adumah, of the red heifer. What was this mitzvah? So this mitzvah was done in the times of the tabernacle in the desert, and later on the two temples in Jerusalem. And there is a concept in the Torah which deals with purity and impurity. These are two words that are used in our language, but basically the words in the Hebrew, which are tahara and tumah, purity and impurity, really have no translation to any other language. There's no translation that can explain these two words. This is the closest we get. It doesn't mean hygiene. It doesn't mean that we're dirty. It means that there's a blockage, a spiritual blockage inside of the person that doesn't allow the person to be completely connected to God. So in the case of this Torah portion, we're dealing with death. And death is something that renders, when a person is in contact with a dead person, this renders the person as tumah, as impure. And in the times of the Mishkan, what happened in the temples is that people used to go to bring offerings to this place. And what happened is that if a person had been in contact with a dead person, he would become ritually impure and he would not be able to come and offer in the temple. So the mitzvah of Parah Adumah was that the Kohen Gadol of the time, in this case, in this Torah portion, they're talking about Eliezer, the son of Aaron. What he would do is he would burn a red cow. It says that in the history of the Jewish people, there's been 9 red cows, and that we're missing one. In total, it's 10 red cows. And the last cow is gonna be like, okay, this is Mashiach times, and this is the cow that's gonna purify all of us to be able to receive Mashiach. But till now, till this moment, we see that till the temples were destroyed, there were 9 Parah Adumahs in the history of the Jewish people. So what would happen was that the Kohen Gadol, who was a person that was forbidden to be in contact with dead people, the Kohen, till today, they don't go into a cemetery. They only go in the case that it's someone that is from the immediate family, would burn this red cow. It sounds like, I tell you, it sounds like very weird. He would burn this cow to ashes, to the point where the cow became ashes, and then he would take these ashes and mix them with spring water and make this potion, and then he would sprinkle it on people that had become impure because they were burying dead people, and then this person would become pure. He would be able to go to the temple to bring the offerings. And what would happen to the Kohen, the Gadol, that was in charge of making this potion, this thing, he himself would become impure, and then he was the one that needed to be sprinkled with the ashes, so he would become pure. So this is the mitzvah of the paraduma. This is supra-rational. It's crazy. It's something that in our level we cannot come to understand. We cannot understand this logically. And so what is this mitzvah telling us? It's telling us that there's another connection to God, that is not only, we don't only connect to God through logic, through intellect, that there's a higher connection to God that comes from the will of God. So you have the wisdom of God, and then you have the will of God. And this will of God, which is really the ratzon, the desire of Hashem, is really supra-rational. It's higher than our intellect. We can never come to grasp what God really wants from us in this type of things. But when we do this type of mitzvot, what we're doing is that we're connecting to that supra-rational will of God, which in reality is his essence. It's what his core, what he is. So the Rebbe explains this, and he takes us a little deeper, and he tells us that in order to see that are hidden in the mitzvah of paraduma are many of the most fundamental concepts of the Torah. And one of the things that the Rebbe explains is that in every person we have these two levels which I spoke, that are the intellect and the will. The will is higher than intellect. A person can understand everything with his intellect to the level of his intellect capacity to understand, but will is something that is more, it's higher than the intellect. And to prove this point is that a person can go to a doctor, and the doctor can tell the person, look, you're overweight, you need to lose weight, you need to lower your cholesterol, you need to exercise, you need to not eat so much sugar, your sugar is high. And intellectually the person is going to understand what the doctor is saying. But you know what? The person, he wants to eat the chocolate cake. His desire is to eat the chocolate cake. The will is stronger than his intellect. So if a person doesn't make his will in accordance to what the doctor is telling him that he should do, if his desire is not to be a healthy person, there's nothing in the world that's going to make him a healthy person. So intellect is something that you can explain in words, it has an explanation, and will is something that is higher than the intellect, that it's something that you cannot really explain. It's not explainable. So the same way that our will transcends the intellect, the same way Hashem also is transcendental. And Hasidut explains that there is a level of godly revelation which can be understood rationally, like the mishpatim, like these laws that are rational, that they're understandable, and then you have a level of connection to God that is really beyond ourselves. It's higher than ourselves, and we cannot really come to understand it. So those mitzvahs that are in the category of the chukim, that are in the category of the chok, this level is a level in which we have to really jump out of our intellects. We have to go higher than what we can understand, and we have to really grasp the supra-rational will of God. And when we do that, and we do the things that Hashem desires that we do, then we are connecting to a higher level of God. And so the mitzvahs that doesn't make sense to us, things that are really doesn't make sense, and that the mind cannot relate to them, that's when we're doing it, we're reaching a part of Hashem, which is called the etzem. And the etzem means the essence of God. In other words, the intellect of God is in a lower dimension of Hashem than the essence of Hashem, and just as our intellect is lower than our will. And would you say that the essence of a person is his IQ? A person would say, okay, the essence of a person is his IQ, is his intellectual quotient. But in reality, that's not the essence of a person. I heard a beautiful story of the Ben Ish Hai, that once a man came to him and he brought with him a special child. It was a child with Down syndrome. And the moment that the man walked into the room with his child, the Ben Ish Hai stood up to greet the boy. This was something very strange. He never stood up for anybody, but nevertheless he stood up for this boy. And when the man left with the boy, the secretary of the Ben Ish Hai asked him, why did you stand up for this child? He's not a Torah scholar. He's nothing. Like, why would you stand up for him? And he says, you don't understand. Maybe his intellectual quotient is not a high quotient, but the essence of his soul is in a very high place. He explained that these children, these very special children, their essence comes from a very, very high place. It's souls of very lofty people, of very lofty souls that come into this world, and they put themselves in these situations, in these bodies, with this intellect, so the people around them grow and become better people. So that's why he stood for this child, because he understood the essence of the child, the etzem. And so the etzem of Hashem is his innermost core. And when you do a mitzvah that you don't understand, when we do things that really are out of our understanding, then what we're doing is that we're not connecting to Hashem's wisdom, but we're going to a place higher, and we're connecting to his essence, which is his desire, his will. And this is a higher level. So the Rebbe explains also that as far as the essence of our neshama, we are all the same, that we are all the same. It doesn't matter, the biggest rabbi, the most simple Jew, we're all the same. Maybe intellectually we're not the same. Maybe in the fulfillment of the mitzvot we're not the same. But in the level of the etzem, we are all the same. And so it finishes off explaining something which is really beautiful. And it says, the Rebbe explains this, he says that the crux of the whole Torah really is love of others, the love of a fellow Jew, Ahavas Israel. And there is a famous story of Rabbi Hillel that a person came to him and told him to please convert him, that if he could teach him the whole Torah while he stood on one foot, and to please convert him. And Rabbi Hillel said to this man, don't do unto others what you don't want to be done to you. And the rest is commentary, and now go and learn it. And he converted. So what it means is that what Hashem wants, his true desire, is that people love each other, that we treat each other nice, that we are not doing things to other people that harm them. This is really what the basis of all this thing is, this paraduma, that is a supra-rational hawk, but at the end of the day, it brings this part of a Jew that is in the essence, that is a person is gonna get uncomfortable to make another person pure. And on the process of making this other person pure, he himself becomes impure. So this is the whole idea of the Torah. It's not only in the hook, in these mitzvahs that are supra-rational, it's also in the mishpatim and in the idos. The fabric of the whole Torah is to help another Jew. This is the whole purpose of everything, of learning Torah, of fulfilling Torah, of keeping mitzvot. It's to do things with kindness, to be kind to others, because at the end of the day, this is the whole purpose of it. And so it says that when you see a funeral car, a Jewish funeral car, you're going to see the letters Gimel, Hes, Shin, and Aleph, which is an acronym of Gemilut, Hesed, Shel, Emet, which means acts of true kindness. And why? Because when a person dies, and the people that take care of the body, the Hebra Kadisha, the burial society, these people are never thanked. They're doing this because this is what has to be done. This is what the Torah tells us to do. They have not even a thank you. They don't even get paid for this. They do it out of their hearts, of doing a mitzvot. And this is what the Rebbe teaches us about Para Aduma, which is called a Chukas HaTorah, because those that were involved with preparing the Para Aduma showed the ultimate in Ahavas Israel, by working to help another Jew become purified through themselves becoming impure. And to finish off, the Rebbe says something very interesting, and he says that when the Kohen would make these ashes of the paraduma, he would separate it in three parts. One part was to purify those that were impure. The other part was kept for him to be purified, and then there was another part that was put apart just in case. So what this teaches us is that when we're helping people, when we're working with others, when we're helping other people, we can never forget ourselves. We cannot help people to the point of where we're burnt and we can't help anybody else. So by helping others, we have to understand that we also have to be kind to ourselves. We also need to help ourselves. And then you put something apart just in case. And so this is the teaching of this beautiful parasha of Chukas. I hope that some clarity comes into you, understanding these very strange mitzvot in which really Hashem works in very strange ways. But the whole point of it is that we do things not for ourselves, that we do for others. And when we do for others, we're really doing for God. So I want to wish you a blessed week, and remember, live a little higher. Thank you.